Okay, so now we're in the next section where we're going to be talking about string immutability. So we're learning the difference between being mutable and immutable in our variables and in our data types. And like I said earlier, strings are part of what we call the primitive data type. Remember, everything in JavaScript is an object except for primitive data types. Now, although we're putting those strings inside of a variable, the variable can be mutable, but that string is not mutable. It's immutable. It can't be changed. Therefore, you're going to have to give it something, a different string, but yet it'll be in the same variable. Let me explain. If you're new to this particular content and you just landed here, this curriculum is free. The link is in the description for you to look at the curriculum. So go ahead and take advantage of it. So now let's get into the curriculum. Now, string immutability. If an object cannot be changed, we say that it is immutable. Strings are immutable, which means we cannot change the individual characters within a given string. While we can access individual characters using bracket notation, notice the key word, access. Attempting to change individual characters simply does not work. Here's a rule we're giving you. Make sure you understand this, because you're going to be getting a lot of errors if you don't understand this rule. So here, let's review. What are we doing here? We're doing what? We are declaring and initializing a variable. This is what we're doing here. Remember that. Keep saying that over and over again. We have a keyword let. We have a variable called nonprofit. We have an assignment operator, and we have a string. Now notice here, we're console.logging the variable nonprofit. There's no quotes around the variable. If we were just to put a primitive data type or just a string or a number or anything, but like a string, we have to put the quotes on if we were just to pass the string here directly. But we're using a variable. A variable is a container. Now notice here, nonprofit, and we're using a bracket notation to get access to this particular variable that's holding this string. And we want to change that, access that particular index, which is the second C, not the first C. We want to capitalize it. Then we console.log nonprofit again. But notice in the output, it didn't change. This is why it's so important to understand the rules and the principles. Primitive data types cannot be changed, and a string cannot be changed. It's immutable. Although we're putting that string inside of a variable, the variable is immutable, meaning we can reassign another string there. But this particular string, LaunchCode, we can't change it. You can't change the string. So understand that. You can't change it. And so we said attempting to change the value of the character at index 6 from a lowercase c to a capital C by using an assignment statement along with the bracket notation on line 4, perhaps to align with the official LaunchCode branding guidelines. However, this change clearly did not take place. In many programming languages, strings are immutable. And while trying to change a string in some languages result in an error, JavaScript just simply ignores the request to alter a string. It is important to notice that immutability applies to string values, not string variables. So, like we said, immutability applies to the string, meaning the string can't be changed at the value. It can only be replaced or reassigned at the variable. What it's trying to show here it's not the same string. When you see something different, if we reassign it, it's giving you a totally different string, as you can see right here in the example. We have LaunchCode initialized with the lowercase c on the code, but then we reassigned it with the capital C. This is a totally different string. It's not the same string. So in this example, the change made on line 2 is carried out. The difference between this example and the one above is that here we are modifying the value that the variable is storing and not the string itself. Remember, we said we're modifying the value that the variable is storing or holding, not the string itself. Using our visual analogy of the variable as a label that points to a value, the second example has the following effect. So here's the variable nonprofit. We started off with the first LaunchCode, but we reassigned it the second. This one never changed. We created a new one. Understand the difference. When the value of the variable storing the string is changed, the variable then points to a new value, with the old value remaining unchanged. So we'll check our understanding, but remember, it's pointing. So like I said, we've planted the seed. We're just building on top of it. We may have told you one thing earlier because we were just introducing something to you. Now, as we continue to progress, we're going to keep adding more information. Okay, remember, the more you do, the more you improve. See you in the next.